All right, let's go back to that earlier story and try to connect with our reporter Patricia Visagie. A memorial service for the late Gauteng legislature member David Mapiti Matsena is taking place this afternoon in Pretoria. For more now, let's cross to our reporter Patricia Visagie. Before we talk about the memorial service, Patricia, it is said that the man that is linked to Mr. Matsena's murder was arrested over the weekend, and we are hearing reports that it is in fact a relative, a family member. What can you tell us about this? And we understand at this point that he is indeed being charged with his murder. Before we talk about that memorial service, take us through the backstory of this if you can.
Well, the 29-year-old Munoko Francis Toka, as you know, briefly appeared at the Pretoria North Magistrate Court there, where he was formally charged with premeditated murder, of course, following that fatal attack on Mr. Matsena last week. He made it very clear that he will not be applying for bail, so he subsequently abandoned his bail. He indicated that he will be needing legal aid. So he remains in custody for further investigations. And really, just to put that point very clear, we did speak to the family and they confirmed to us that Mr. Matsena and Toka are not related. They are not family, yes. They originate from the same village in Limpopo. And Mr. Toka used to work for Mr. Matsena. In fact, after an impasse, a disagreement that they had earlier this year in January, Mr. Matsena actually then fired Mr. Toka. Mr. Toka, of course, didn't take it well. He was angry and upset after he was fired, and this happened after he apparently disobeyed some of his employment agreements. He abused apparently some of the family vehicles that he was supposed to use to fare some of Mr. Matsena's children to school, and he then attempted to physically assault Mr. Matsena in January, and that is how he actually lost his job. And that action was followed by repeated threats, where he repeatedly apparently threatened the family. And this happened, of course, followed by the attack that happened last week, Wednesday, where he unlawfully gained entry into the home. Apparently, he jumped that wall there at the corner. Just to give you that shot, you can see ANC members sitting on the lawn for the memorial service. So, according to the family and some of the preliminary police investigations, he jumped that particular wall, gained entry into the home because he used to actually live on the premises. So he knew his way around the property. He knew who slept in which room, and he hid in the house. And there it's when Mr. Matsena's wife actually spotted him, called Mr. Matsena, and he ambushed him with a sharp object and repeatedly stabbed him in the chest and in the face. That is what we got from the family. But I think it is important at this stage to really put it very clear that the two are not related. They're from the same village, and Mr. Toka was in the employ of Mr. Matsena. Following him being fired, of course, him being aggrieved by this, he then started to plot against Mr. Matsena. And it is on the premise of this that the state has actually opted for premeditated murder, and this is what they will be planning to prove to the court when we return, of course, on the 24th of August, when the case will be starting again. Hope in the Pretoria North Magistrate Court. But the NPA, also to make it clear, has already indicated that because of the high-profile nature of this particular matter and the fact that they're already going for premeditated murder, they're already working on actually escalating the matter to a higher court. So the chances are very high that when we do return, Mr. Toka's next appearance will actually be in the Pretoria High Court and not the Pretoria North Magistrate Court because of, as I said, the prominence of the matter and the fact that the state is actually charging him with a Schedule 6 offence. And you would understand, once they charge you with a Schedule 6 offence, it means that the state is planning to call for the maximum sentence because that is where they're going to try and prove intent, meaning there was an intention to kill when Mr. Toka went across that wall and entered the home. He actually planned this for months. It was not a random burglary. It was not a housebreaking. It was a premeditated crime, and that is what the state is planning to prove to the court.
All right, Patricia, thank you so much for that in-depth report. I do understand you were planning to speak to a family member. I'm not sure if you're still with the family member at this point, so of course I'll give you the floor to have that discussion if you're still planning to do so. But take us through today's ceremony. Of course, everything has changed. As we're dealing with this pandemic, we can't have services, memorial services, how we're used to having them. So perhaps you can just take us through really what took place today at the home of Mr. Matsena.
Of course, you would know that it's 2 days left before the fallen comrade will be laid to rest in Limpopo. So today the focus falls on his comrades who have gathered in their numbers here to pay official tribute. And of course, this is the memorial service by the ANC, his political home, his political comrades who have run the political ground with him. So just to give you the shots of what's happening here at the home, various, of course, ANC members gathered to remember the fallen leader and to also just reflect on the lives and times of Mr. Matsena. And joining me right now to do exactly that is Mr. Bagstau. You've worked very closely with Mr. Matsena. Just to take us through some of the memories, the fond memories that you hold of him.
Thank you very much. It is indeed a sad moment that we are gathered here today to pay tribute to Comrade Mapiti Matsena, a consummate activist and leader of the people of Gauteng, who committed his entire life to the service of the people of this country. When we heard the news of his passing away, it is almost inevitable these days that you expect that he would have died through illness. So we were extremely shocked to find out that he died allegedly at the hands of somebody he knew, who took advantage of the knowledge that he had of his environment and callously murdered him. And I think it is something that we should all be sad about, that we continue to experience murder in this country. I should say that Comrade Mapiti Matsena was a very consummate activist, as I said earlier. He participated in student struggles in his early days as a young student activist in Limpopo. He indeed participated as an activist in the Pretoria Tshwane region and became a leader of the people of Tshwane as the deputy chair of the province of the region of Tshwane. He later on became a member of the provincial executive committee of the ANC in Gauteng, a committee in which we have had the privilege to serve with him. And one can almost always remember his contributions. He brought together a consummate understanding of politics. His political acumen with his legal knowledge was brought together in a very creative way to inform the debates and discussions and discourse and direction that we took as the ANC Gauteng Provincial Executive Committee. And indeed, we will continue to miss his contributions to our collective and to the people of Gauteng. I should say lastly that whilst having not served with him in the Gauteng Provincial Legislature, all the feedback we would receive in the Provincial Executive Committee was his continuous engagements, particularly as Chairperson of Public Safety, to ensure that the safety of the people of Gauteng is foremost in the agenda of the Gauteng Provincial Government and Legislature.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Bagstau. They're just paying tribute and remembering his comrade. There's another issue of great contention that we really need to also, get clarity on. You would know that since yesterday there is a controversial video that is making the rounds on social media that has sparked public outrage in terms of what is happening here. A lot of members of the public, in particular Mr. Herman Mashaba, who actually tweeted this particular video saying that there is no social distancing that's happening here. There was a large gathering of comrades at Mr. Matsena's home. So the ANC has issued a statement, and they just want to put it very clear that that particular video is in fact false. Mr. Bones Mudise, he is the Gauteng ANC spokesperson. Just bring us into the picture. Are you still standing by your statement that that video was false and malicious?
Well, thank you very much, Patricia, for the opportunity and to clarify certain issues. And firstly, yes, we are still of the view that the video is false. And Herman Mashaba, hence we issued another statement this morning that Herman Mashaba ought to write a formal apology to the ANC and to the Matsena family, because we are very disgusted by the behavior of Herman Mashaba. If Mr. Mashaba believes that he's a leader of a stature of a national leader of the country, he ought to verify any information that comes to him before he can behave like a love-struck child or teenager jumping around with information that is not even sure of. So we don't accept, we reject the tweet that he tweeted saying that it was information that he got and he was assured that it's legitimate, and therefore he apologized. No, we don't accept that. We want him to write a formal apology to the Matsena family first and foremost, and to the ANC as an organization, because that tweet, if you go to his page now, you will find that people are still talking about that video, and the video was shot or recorded in 2018 when we were at the St. George's Hotel. We can even go there and prove that video was shot in St. George's Hotel and not here. So we want him to formally apologize to the ANC and to the Matsena family.
All right, thank you so much. Just lastly, take us through the program of today. We see, of course, the service has started. Are there any, perhaps, prominent figures that are expected to also pay homage to the fallen comrade?
Yes, comrades will be arriving in their drips and drops because of the regulations. So we've asked comrades to make us aware that they are on their way so that we can make space, because we want to avoid the sensationalism that Mashaba and others are doing. So we'll inform on our social networks as the dignitaries are coming.
All right, thank you so much there, Mr. Bones Modise. He's the ANC Gauteng spokesperson there, just bringing us into the picture, giving clarity on some of the controversial matters, of course, that emanate from this gathering that is happening here at Mr. Matsena's home. You would know that that controversial video has really, have the nation talking, with many people who have been commenting on that particular video, saying that it is in poor taste of some of the comrades, as of course you would know in that video. It seems like it's a large gathering that is singing, but we now know officially from the ANC saying that it's actually an old video. It is false and it is malicious, but we continue to, of course, monitor what's happening here. Just to give you the shots again, you can see there the tribute messages are happening in that particular venue there, but throughout the street there are comrades that are lined, that are listening to the messages. Some of them are actually following the messages on their devices as it is available.